Hey everybody, I'm here at Big Ten Media Days in Rosemont, Illinois, covering the Illinois Fighting Illini basketball program. I got to talk to head coach Brad Underwood, Ty Rogers, Kylan Boswell, and this year is going to be about change for the Orange and Blue. They only returned 2 players from last year's Elite Eight squad with Trey Gibbs-Longhorn and Ty Rogers. So most people would think that Illinois would take a serious step down, but they actually think that they actually have a higher ceiling this year. They got some international players, some projected NBA first-round draft picks. So far, Brad Underwood talked about what he likes from his team and what he doesn't. He really likes the offense so far this year. He thinks Will Riley, the freshman, is a great three-point shooter. He thinks that they developed very good offensive chemistry. One concern that he thinks he's had so far is with the defense. You know, he was joking around earlier that he thinks that a 7th grade middle school team could maybe hang 100 points on this defense so far. He actually said during the press conference, he's like, right when I get out of Rosemont, I get back in Champaign, I'm going to be holding a practice and I'm going to fix that defense. We're going to have an inspired practice. So Brad Underwood is obviously still that aggressive coaching style, but somebody that his players they end up liking. You know, Brad Underwood, so far, it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with 12 new players on the roster. Like in college basketball, there's only one ball. In college basketball, chemistry is huge. And to try to fit that many different pieces, new transfers, freshmen, old guys, it's going to be interesting for this basketball program, but they are projected to finish 4th overall in the Big Ten standings. And there's 18 teams in the Big Ten. I know the Big Ten actually used to only have 10 teams, but now it's a super massive conference. So for Illinois to be projected 4th, that says a lot about what people think about Brad Underwood and that they trust him in those January, February, March months. You know, over the past 5 years, Illinois has the most Big Ten wins, even more than Purdue. I'm going to have sound from Brad Underwood about how he wants to take this program to the next level. Obviously, last year they lost to the UConn Huskies in the Elite Eight. And UConn is a very good basketball team, obviously. UConn dominated Illinois. They ended up winning the national title. And Brad Underwood was very proud that his team made the Elite Eight. However, the one thing that he did say was, if we want to win a national championship, we have to get better. When he looked at his roster with, and I won't put players in his, put words in his mouth about what players weren't talented enough. But overall, when he looked top to bottom at last year's roster, yeah, sure, Terrence Shannon was a great player. Marcus Domask was a great player. But when you looked at the overall depth, it doesn't compare to Duke, Kansas, Kentucky. So that's why this year he's changed. I mean, 5-star from Lithuania, Gaspar Siakionis. I mean, he's a projected first-round draft pick next year. He's a really good guard. Will Riley is a high school player that just came into Illinois. He's a projected first-round pick. They say he can make any shot on the planet. Kylan Boswell is a phenomenal point guard from Arizona. He shot 39% from the three-point line last year. And about Boswell, he was actually born and raised in Champaign, moved to the West Coast just a couple years ago. Brad Underwood actually recruited him hard in high school. And it took a couple years to get him here, but Brad Underwood, you know, the king of the transfer portal, got Boswell on campus. So those are 3 huge guys that I would look at and think that this can maybe take Illinois to the next level offensively. The big concern is going to be whether they can get that defense up to speed this year. And Big Ten Media Days is finally clearing out. There was 18 men's coaches here today, 36 total players. This wasn't as packed as a usual football media day, but I love college basketball. You get really good access to the players. I actually had one-on-one interviews with both Kylan Boswell and Ty Rogers. Ty Rogers is one of the only 2 returning players from last year's team. And he says this team is more talented. He thinks the freshmen have bought in. They're probably a little more athletic, a little more offensively gifted. So it's really going to be about getting this team to agree to like each other. And so far, by all indications, they're selfless. They don't mind, sharing the ball during practice. But I asked Brad Underwood about it. I was like, Ty Rogers says that you guys are pretty selfless this year. And he says, yes, during practice, but we'll see when it actually comes to the season. Because when a player's only getting 5 minutes, but he thinks that he wants to get 20, that's a recipe for some guy to transfer. And that's something that we've seen in college basketball repeatedly, and especially with Illinois. Sky Clark transferred. Andre Curbelo transferred. Alan Griffin transferred. I think last year Illinois had the most transfers leave the program in the country. So, when guys aren't getting playing time, sometimes they want a change of scenery. So that's going to be a big part of Brad Underwood this year, is balancing a bunch of personalities and realizing that there's only one ball. And if you guys have any questions about Big Ten basketball, just drop it in here. The preseason poll came out. Number one's Indiana. Number one's Purdue. Number two is Indiana. Number three is UCLA. And then coming in at number four are the Fighting Illini of Illinois. And if they finish fourth in the Big Ten, that's probably more than enough to get an NCAA tournament bid again. Last year, obviously, they made their first Elite Eight since 2005, and that was something that people always kind of held against Brad Underwood. He was a great regular season coach, but he kept losing early in the NCAA tournament. Who can forget losing to Sister Jean in Loyola Chicago in 2021, losing to Houston in 2022, losing to Arkansas in 2023? That was all in the first weekend. And those were talented Illinois teams. And in college basketball, there does seem to be a bias towards March Madness. If you have a good March Madness, people will forget about the regular season. So Illinois opens up the season on November 4th. They're going to be taking on the Eastern Illinois Panthers at the State Farm Center. That's a non-conference game. Illinois probably expects to win. But overall, this is Brad Underwood's most challenging non-conference schedule yet. They're taking on Arkansas. They're taking on Tennessee. They're taking on Alabama, who's going to be preseason number probably top 3 in the country. And they're also going to be playing the Duke Blue Devils. That is correct. Duke. They're going to play them at Madison Square Garden in New York in late February, right in the middle of Big Ten play. So they're going to be playing a bunch of Big Ten games and then take a break, play Duke, and then go back into the Big Ten. That is challenging. When you were playing 4 top 15 programs, Illinois' young guys better be ready. They're not going to be able to afford turnovers. The defensive intensity is going to have to improve, because those could be a rough 4 games, if Illinois is not playing with the right mindset. Brad Underwood views it this way. He wants to see which guys are tough and which guys aren't. Which guys want to play in big games and which guys aren't capable. So he wants to play the most difficult Power 5 teams to kind of weed out who's legit or not. And it is weird, a lot of people loved Illinois basketball last year. It was probably one of the top 3 most talented teams in the past 20 years. And they're all gone. Terrence Shannon's gone. Marcus Domask is gone. Coleman Hawkins got paid $2 million to go to Kansas State instead. He's still playing in college, but he's playing for the Wildcats, not Illinois. He got $2 million potentially in NIL deals. So this Illinois team is completely different. It's a lot younger, but the ceiling could potentially be higher. And I got to get ready for a live shot, but I just want to say I will be on around 6:25 on ABC. You can hear from Brad Underwood talk about how that UConn loss affected the overall program, and also hear from Ty Rogers about how people are adjusting to Brad Underwood's coaching style. A lot of new players, and Brad Underwood isn't changing. You better change his way if you want to play in his program. And he's earned it. He's won a couple Big Ten championships and has brought Illinois to 5 straight NCAA tournaments. That wasn't happening at the end of the Bruce Weber tenure. That wasn't happening during the entire John Gross tenure. So, yeah, tune on, 6:24-ish. I'll be on TV talking about Illinois basketball, and I'll also be on at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock and have a more in-depth view about what is Illinois' expectations in the new look Big Ten. My X factor would be, if these young guys like to share the ball, if these guys buy into Brad Underwood's program, if Boswell can step it up and become that alpha for Illinois, it could be a pretty good year in Champaign. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. I'm Carson Gourdie. See you guys soon.
Don't miss a video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today for more Central Illinois news.